topic tonight is emotional. Our speaker is Lygia Montero. Lygia is a retired school teacher, but she's far from retiring, as she's a teacher and a student of this university for more than 30 years. In her teaching days, she was head of the biology and psychology department, and she's qualified in therapeutic counseling and psychotherapist. Lygia is very inspiring in her talks, very enthusiastic, and you're about to find out what a really brilliant teacher she is. My pleasure to welcome you.
So I've just made some notes. Doesn't matter if you can't see them, but I'm going to read them out. It's going to help me. So I'm going to talk until 7:30, but I do like questions. So if you have any questions, you can put your hand up and ask me, or you can wait till the end. Is that okay? Emotional first aid. What does it mean? Actually, all it means is I feel upset. You're upset. It may be guilt, it may be rejection, it may be fear. Something is going on in my life and I feel upset. So you come to me and you want to help me. So what you say to me could change my life. And if I don't have anybody to say that to me, I could lose my life. So I want to tell you a story from my teaching experiences. One day at school, a 12-year-old girl said in my class, "Miss, will you come to my brother's funeral?" I didn't even know she had a brother and he had died because it was a girls' school. Anyway, I said, of course. She gave me the address. I went. There were 1,000 people there. And at the front, it wasn't a funeral, it was a memorial service for a young man, 18 years old, that jumped in front of a train and killed himself the night before his exam results had come out. And when I was talking to the parents, what had happened is he was a superstar in his school. He was expected to get 4 grade A's, go and do architectural and engineering studies. He was a superstar in sports. He was a superstar with the staff and his friends. He could not bear the thought of not getting 4 grade A's. And the next day, the exam results came out. He got 4 grade A's. So there didn't seem to be anybody that he could say this to. Too much pressure, he can't bear it. Jumped in front of the train. So how good is it that I could meet that young man, say something that would change his mind? So emotional first aid is the skill of saying, doing, looking after someone who is suffering psychological distress. And all of us have got so many challenges. I hate turning on the news in the morning because there's more war, more murders, more disasters, more whatever. It's very upsetting, isn't it? Emotional first aid. Just saying, doing the right thing. Can you imagine what would happen if there was a massive pile-up, loads of cars crashed into each other, people were hurt? What would happen if the police, the ambulance, all the services, emergency services arrived and they were so upset by what they saw, they sat down at the side of the road, started to cry, too upset, they needed help. Not very good, is it? So we need our emergency services to be strong, to take charge and to look after us. But the emergency services can't cope now. They need help from the public. So another name for emotional first aid is actually mental health first aid. I didn't know that was an official title of a course you can do until I did it 6 months ago. Very intensive course, what to say to people who are upset. So, what do you say to people that are upset? You introduce yourself. I can see you're upset. Can I help you? Would you like to sit down? Can I get you a cup of tea? I feel concerned about you. So I'm not there to ask them their private business, but just to express concern is so empowering. And, this kind of thing, all of us need to develop. And I tell you, the reason I became a counselor was because I was trying to help somebody and I got into so much trouble. What happened when I was teaching, one of my 16-year-old pupils, they'd all just left to do their exams, but this girl came back. She said, "Miss, I've got pregnant. My mum threw me out of the house. I'm living in a hostel. I've just had an abortion. I want to kill myself." I felt overwhelmed with a desire to take her home. She was suffering so much and give her a safe place to live. But you can't do that kind of thing. So I was talking to her about what brought all this on and so on and so on. And then it was time to leave. And I said to her something which I truly believe. So I said to her, you're a very clever girl. If you work hard, you will like yourself again. Nobody who likes themselves want to kill themselves. It's shame and guilt and fear that makes me want to kill myself. I said, stop having sex with this boy, live a clean, honest, decent life, work hard, and you will like yourself again. So 3 months later, I never saw her again, but when the results came out, she got 8 grade A's and 1 B in her GCSEs. And I must say that moment was something high in my career, that a soul that had lost her way had found it again. And I never saw her again. So sometimes emotional first aid is not about being sweet and kind and gentle. Sometimes you have to say what has to be said. And if we have the courage and feel that motivation to help somebody, then that person will know we care about them and that can help them. So when in a staff meeting soon afterwards, they were talking about this, having more sex education, relationship education, stuff like this. And somebody said, we don't need any more because it was a very expensive school. The kids, on the whole, seemed very innocent, very nice. And someone said, we don't need this kind of thing. So I said, excuse me, one of our pupils had an abortion last week and wants to kill herself. I think we do need to discuss these issues. And the headmistress turned to me and she said, you're not qualified to talk to pupils about this kind of thing. You should have referred her to a GP. And I thought, excuse me, a child comes to me, wants to kill herself, and I'm going to send her to the GP? I don't think so. But I didn't say anything. I just went away and I thought, I wonder what you need to do to become a counsellor. And I started doing counselling training. Did it for 8 years and got high qualifications in it. But the reason I stayed was to help my students. I discovered that for 3 hours a week for nearly 8 years, the way that counselling training works is you just sit down with someone and you tell them your stuff and they tell you their stuff, and then you talk to them and they talk to you in a way that does not intrude, doesn't tell them what to do, doesn't give an opinion, just to be there and listen. I never had that in my life. I was nearly 37 years old. Never had anybody sit down and listen to me. It was so wonderful. I received emotional first aid for 8 years. And guess what happened? I discovered a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. I discovered I was really unhappy in my job. I was really unhappy where I live. And I was very unhappy with family situations going on. And I was too afraid to do anything about it. But after counseling training, I left my job. I found a place to live that I wanted to move to. And I had these honest discussions with my family. And what I was afraid of happened. You're like this, you're like that, why are you making trouble? I said, no, I'm not making trouble. This is the truth. You know? I felt so strong, so healthy, so confident. And what that taught me is to look at my feelings. Somebody's asking me to do something I don't want to do. Instead of saying yes because I want to please them, I feel now, no, this is inconvenient, it's too much, I can't cope, it's not what I want to do. And I have learned to say no in a very nice way, you know? So emotional first aid, you want to help people, start by helping yourself. Decide now how you want to be and to study these things. And, you know, start with making yourself very strong. Is that a good idea? Start with yourself. So, how to help? Introduce yourself and so on. Inquire, but don't intrude. And the most important thing about emotional first aid is to listen to what anybody wants to tell you in confidence. That is what I've learned. So much power in listening. So, and of course we all want to help everybody, but do you look after your mind? Put your hand up if you look after your mind. We look after the body. Who's been to the gym? Who's been exercising? Who's been watching their diet? Who goes walking? We do all these things because we want to look after our bodies, but we don't. Nobody in school tells us to look after our mind. Nobody in society tells us to look after our mind. So I'm just going to make this mic. Can you hear me? I can hear myself loud and clear. Do tell me if there's any problem. Okay. So only the Brahma Kumaris talk about how important it is to look after your mind, emotional well-being. So what does that mean? When you've got emotional health, emotional well-being, then that means when you feel disturbed and upset, you know straight away you need to talk to someone, and to find someone that you trust. Don't tell everybody. Find someone you trust, you know it won't go any further, and say, this is what I'm thinking. And you know that when you've told them, they may not say anything, but you feel they've heard you, and it can make you feel much better. So we can speak our minds. I better sit here. And it kind of makes us feel better. So when I have serious situations that have gone on in my life, I've identified one person that I can say, I need to talk to you, make an appointment, and this is what's happening. And it's so empowering. So think about caring for your mind first. And also, identify that person. The other thing that emotional well-being involves is to be able to relax, take time out for yourself, do things you enjoy with other people, healthy physical habits, take time out, and something else, deal with problems. For example, when situations come and we have a terrible shock, we should be able to say, not why this is happening to me, I can't bear it, but to say, I will find a solution. So as soon as you have that thought, I will find a solution, feel your body physically becoming stronger, and the mind immediately starts looking for solutions. So please remember that. So now, emotional well-being, looking after your mind, emotional health research. What I'd like you to do is to write this down if you can. Go on the internet and write down meditation, the benefits of meditation, Dr. Joe Spencer. And he's not a member of this organization, but he is a great researcher of the benefits of meditation on the body and in the mind. You'll find him all over YouTube. And what he's done is he's taken 100 participants, hundreds, and he's done brain scans on them, and he's taught them meditation, and he has then identified parts of the brain that have been affected by meditation. So what he's discovered is there is a part of the brain called the amygdala underneath the brain. And when we get angry, that amygdala pulls into itself all the experience of anger we've had in our life, the hurts, the rejection, the pain, the defensive mechanism, and it immediately puts a response, which is to lash out. But with meditation, Dr. Dispenza found that the amygdala physically gets smaller. The brain mass gets smaller. What that means is that when something happens that upsets us, we can't be bothered to process and connect it to past hurts. So we get angry less slowly and we calm down faster. So you think of the number of stabbings and knifings, whatever that's happening now, all of them, something is said on social media, and suddenly they're hunting and tracking that person down. So if I am in the habit of not reacting, because my brain cannot be bothered to get angry, I am in a stable state, I can pass through these situations. I meet someone in the street or whatever, and they're upset about something. I can let them go. I'm driving. Driving is crazy now. People are bad-tempered. When my amygdala is very small, I'm more peaceful. I can let situations go. The other thing is that Dr. Dispenza found that the part of the brain, the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory, actually becomes bigger. The hippocampus, when people get dementia and Alzheimer's, becomes smaller. But with meditation, memory, working memory, what's happening and all the different dimensions of it become bigger so I can think more clearly, be more focused, be more creative, be more productive. When I am more focused, more creative, more productive, I am going to experience satisfaction, less depression, less anxiety, less emotional distress, going to be happier in my own company and find new ways to make my life more enriching, all through meditation. So the practice of meditation is really, really helpful to reduce this emotional distress that many of us are subject to every day. So when I do meditation, my mind becomes strong, clear, calm, peaceful. Maybe not straight off, because the mind is used to jumping around. So Dr. Dispenza gives some very good tips if you find meditation difficult. He says we have to treat our mind like a naughty child. What do you do with a naughty child? You sit them on the naughty step. Anybody got children? Yes? So you put them on that naughty step and you say, you've got to sit there for 5 minutes because you've done this. And after 5 minutes, you can get up. You promise not to do that again. So that child will get up immediately. And as long as it takes, it might take all night. Just grab hold of them, put them back on the step, and eventually they'll give in. So your mind has got 1,000 things to do. The minute you want it to be still, calm, and peaceful, it will run off. So if you say to yourself, no tea, no phone, no movies, no surfing, play the music, do some meditation, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, you'll feel so good, so relaxed, so calm, that every time you sit down for meditation, even though the urge is to do something else, you'll know in your heart that this is something that is helping. Practice of meditation cuts down emotional distress. So let me give you an example of how that works for me. So quite surprising, really, because my practices, which was really wonderful for me, is I moved next door to the centre in Wilston, and I'm there every day. And then I used to go to work, and I'd be on my feet for 8 hours, 60 hours a week minimum. So, so practicing meditation and all this kind of thing just became a habit for me. But one day in the staff room, a colleague was doing the timetable. It was the end of the year. And he gives me this timetable, and I took one look at it, and I said to him straight off, you've given me 2 hours of psychology teaching on a Friday afternoon. I said, look, nobody teaches anybody anything on a Friday afternoon, especially not psychology. I said, I need my students at 9 o'clock in the morning for an hour every day so they can do homework, we can discuss it and do some learning, not Friday afternoon. He said, I've done it now. It's too late, can't be changed. I said, I'm going to tell the head. He said, tell her who you like. So the next day, he comes up to me in the staff room. He says, can I see you for a minute, Lygia? I said, sure, fine. Takes me into the next room, next to the staff room where everybody's having coffee. He starts screaming at me, who the hell do you think you are? And I suddenly realized he was a senior person, an elderly person, and very good friends with the head, but the head told him off and ordered him to change the timetable. I could have easily said, talking to me like this is out of order, and walked out and complained about him. It was completely out. But I didn't. I felt out of nowhere, I thought this soul is in pain. And I responded to that pain. I said, listen, Steve, I'm so sorry. Forget about the timetable. I will teach on a Friday afternoon for 2 hours, 35 weeks coming up. But I thought, I can't. I don't want him to, I could see his ego was attacked. He was a senior teacher, and I complained about him, and he got a telling off. I said, don't worry about it, Steve. I'm so sorry you're upset. Forget it. And in mid-scream, he said, oh, and he walked out. So I thought, well, that's it. Karma drama, I always say. Forget about it. The next day, coffee morning, he calls me in the staff room, same place. And I thought, he says, can I talk to you, Lygia? And I thought, oh, here we go again. What's he going to scream at me about now? And I said, fine, what do you want to talk to me about? He takes me into the next room and he says, you know what? He says, I've changed the timetable and I've given you 1 hour every day, 9 o'clock. I said, really? That is so kind of you. I was absolutely amazed. He said, yeah, it's my job to give teachers what they need to do their job. That's what you need, and that's what I've given you. So what that taught me is I was not expecting anything from him, but it gave him space to think about his behavior. And emotional first aid. I gave him emotional first aid. It was such a shock. Step back, forget about what was going on and see someone suffering. Good, wasn't it? And I felt, teaching, you have a whole year of teaching, 6-7 hours a day, teenagers, it can be absolutely stress. And that's the end of the year. So I was very surprised at myself that after a whole year of teaching, summer holidays coming up, someone is hassling me, I could come out with such a nice response. I felt so good. Emotional first day. And not only that, but not only in crisis time, but all the time, to feel that people around you appreciate a kindness, respect, good manners. So much bullying going on in the workplace now, isn't it? And if I can make my mind strong and peaceful and calm and interact with everyone with love, peace and integrity, it's like a fresh breath of fresh air. And when I have been bullied plenty of times, and my answer has been to tell people, sometimes tell them what you're saying, what you're asking me to do, I'm not doing it. And sometimes you get a good result, sometimes you get a bad result, but I have a mantra, which is, I will clean toilets. But I'm not going to do this. Sometimes whatever it is, legal, dishonest, immoral, all of that stuff was going on in the schools I've taught in. As long as I was not expected to get involved with it, then my mind was always calm and peaceful. A clear conscience is so good. And sometimes a clear conscience, there's a price to pay for that. You may be overloaded, you may be bullied, you may be treated badly, like whistleblowers in companies. As soon as the company finds out, many of them are harassed beyond measure because they want to live a life of integrity. But emotional good health is to live a life of truth as much as possible and say no to wrongdoing. So playing my role, this is one of the key teachings of the Brahma Kumaris. To understand that you and I, we're not supermen and women, we are just souls playing our role. I want to tell you a story about a steel magnet. He's a young man, 42 years old, came into our centre to speak to one of our senior teachers. She was telling us this. And that night, he said to her the steel prices had collapsed. He had 4,000 people in his workforce. Everybody was thrown out of work. He was completely ruined and in a huge amount of debt. And he went home that night and threw himself off the Mayfair block of flats where he lived and killed himself. And he had a wife and 2 young children. Emotional distress. He needed emotional first aid. If he'd got to know us a bit more, we could have said to him, look, you're wealthy, talented, creative, have energy, built up the steel empire, but it's only a role. So now this disaster has happened. There will be a mess, but your energy, creativity, talent will help you. Suicide. So souls are so emotionally depressed that unless someone has this kind of conversation with them, then it's understandable that distress is so powerful, literally they can't think straight and they go. So playing my role. So now I'm talented, got a big house, big car, beautiful home, lovely husband. Come home one night, he's found somebody else, divorcing me, living in our beautiful house with this beautiful. Now I think to myself, this role has come to an end. I will go and find another role. Courage and determination and a strong mind. I can walk away from the situation. Of course, maybe I'll take him to court to get my share of our money. I think I'll do that, but I'll do it peacefully. But teaching of the Brahma Kumaris is we're all playing a role, but when we get caught up in that role, it can literally kill us. I want to tell you the story of my friend Sylvia. I worked in a school for 8 years, and then suddenly the property developers bought the building, and the school was going to close. And Sylvia was one of my colleagues on the staff. She'd been in school for 40 years, and it was her whole life. And we were having a cup of tea soon after we were told this news. And she said, Lygia, I will never be happy again. She was so upset. I was only in my 20s and a new teacher. I didn't know what to say to her. But when the school closed down, that depression turned into cancer and she passed away in 6 months. Emotional distress can kill us, can give us cancer. But now, I would say, you're beautiful, talented, so experienced. There are 5 million kids in this country that need teaching. You will find something wonderful. Trust yourself. Because, when I was told I was losing my job, I thought, great. School was easy. The children were lovely, but it wasn't very stimulating. And because that school was closed down, I was forced to get out there and do something different. And I did qualifications in psychology, counseling, and all this stuff while I was teaching, because my emotional distress was at a very low level. I learned how to say no, look after myself, ask for what I need, and resolve conflict. if I spend all day arguing, it chips away at my energy and my confidence and my strength. And I go home depressed and anxious. But because I was doing meditation every day and listening to the teachings of the university, one thing that I was always hearing is leave everybody with peace. You know, agree to disagree, but don't get into yelling, screaming, and shouting. And often I have not been in a position of power. But what I used to do when I got fed up of the job, I just start looking around, start applying. I'd ask the head teacher for a statement of my work so I knew what they'd written about me, and I'd send that with my application, plus all the brilliant references from all my colleagues who knew my work well. And I'd get jobs without the head teacher's reference. So I was able to just leave peacefully. I never had to clean toilets, but I wouldn't mind. If that was the only job I could get, I'd go and do it. But people lose their jobs, they kill themselves. Attachment to a role. Forget about that. The other thing that causes emotional distress is if I feel people are not respecting me and not. I have worked hard, but the boss is praising someone else. We call it ego. And this, I've learned to kill my ego. I don't need anybody to love or praise me. Up here, I am happy with the work I have done. I have done my best and I know it. I don't need anybody to tell me that. So when my conscience is clear, when I am living a clean, honest life based on integrity, I don't need anybody to praise me or like me. You know, sometimes if you stay all night working, the boss will like you. I don't buy into that. I can say no. So let me look after myself by becoming very strong mentally. Does anybody have any questions? Play your role. Get rid of anger. Get rid of ego. Get rid of attachment. What does that mean? My job, my role, my house, my car, my child, my husband. Every time I talk like this, I have to defend it. And if I have to defend it, I take so much energy to defending it, I can't live my life peacefully. I had a boyfriend once who said this to me. Somebody had said to him, said something to him. And he said that to me, oh, she likes me a lot. She's invited me on a date. I said, go. You know, if you want to, there is the door. Go. So that feeling that, this is my boyfriend and whatever, people kill themselves over this kind of thing. Attachment, you have to defend it. It causes me pain. So let me get rid of attachment. I was telling a group this morning, I was in huge emotional distress. I wanted to end my life. But I've learned now that my dad was playing a role and it was time for him to leave his body and go. And the most important thing was the love that we had and those good memories, and to wish that soul well on the next part of his journey. So let me look at my life, cut down the emotional distress for myself, and then I become free to help others. How do I help others? Well, I love working for the Brahma Kumaris. I give lots of talks, teach courses, look after the children, but I'd be happy to clean the toilets and whatever. I work in reception to make this organization grow. We are an organization that teach people that with meditation, you can become strong. You can be in charge of yourself. You can feel free or learn tools for dealing with anxiety and pain and guilt and shame and all these kinds of things. So the core of the work, what does meditation mean? It means that I take a few minutes to let go of this world and step inside, to be with my spiritual self, my soul. And as I let go of this world, let go of my thoughts, relax my body, become aware of what kind of thoughts I'm having. Do my thoughts help me? Positive thoughts. That I am lucky. I have got, life is tough and challenging, but I have got so much to be grateful for. Or are my thoughts full of, the boss is so bad, my partner is so bad, the children are so naughty, I've got so many bills, can't cope. So ask yourself, how are your thoughts? And you know, thoughts that help you, if you concentrate on what you do have and what your options are, your emotional health will become strong. One day I was going to visit a friend for a cup of tea. She lived near where I worked, and went to visit her, and she came to the door like this, in terrible pain. I said, "Oh my God, what have you done?" And she said, "No, Lygia, don't worry about me. I'm so grateful to God." I said, "Really?" She had this terrible pain. She said she was painting the bathroom and she fell off the ladder onto the sink and caught her ribs. And she said, "You know what? I'm not in bed. I don't need an ambulance. I don't need to go to the hospital." She worked as a cleaner. And she said, "I can't afford not to work. I can't afford to be in bed. I'm so grateful to God that I can still move and this pain is going down already." This is the way that we should think. So thinking, have thoughts that help you. The job's not going well, okay, fine. I'm going to look around, I'll find something else, it'll be okay. So on and so on. So when I practice meditation, on one level, I can step away from the world, connect with my pure self, make that pure self stronger, more productive, more powerful. But on another level, I can connect with the Supreme Soul and take his power into myself, make determination strong, courage strong, and my world positive. So, Om Shanti. Does anybody have any questions? And then when you have done that, you are in charge of yourself, and you will find that people will look at you and they want to be like you. They'll say, "Oh, he gets on with everyone, is always so calm, always has good things to say, always willing to give a helping hand, always resolves conflict peacefully, never wants to disturb anybody." They will come to you and they will start telling you their problems. It's happened to me a few times in my place of work, which is rather nice. And using my counseling skill, one thing that counseling training has taught me is that I'm often in counseling mode with my students. I'm always thinking, how can I be with them, makes them more calm, more peaceful, more appreciated, more willing to share their thoughts and feelings and let me help them. So when my colleagues say, "Can I talk to you, Lygia?" I instantly go into counseling. What does that mean? I put down my work, I sit down opposite them, I look at them, and I'll say, please, do tell me what you want to talk about. I don't, and then I'm always aware that do I ask them anything because I want to know or because it will help me to understand the situation? And more important than that, whatever they tell me is absolutely private. So I feel now that, you know, life becomes very rich when you can help someone silently and be that really good support for them. So that girl I was telling you about, Emma, her name was, and I never heard from her again. You know, it was funny because she never spoke to me. I taught her for 5 years. She never spoke to me except that one time when she'd had that abortion. And what had happened is one day I'd been teaching her for about 6 months and there was parents' evening. This woman came and sat opposite me in parents' evening, started glaring at me. I never met her before. She was furious. And she said, I'm Emma's mother. I said, nice to meet you. How are you? She said, I'm very angry with you. I said, really? What have I done? She said, since my daughter has met you, she refuses to drink alcohol and eat meat. I'm the biology teacher. She said, my daughter will never enjoy a good glass of wine or a good steak because of you. So I told her, so this child, this girl, was obviously very interested in what I was saying. She became a vegetarian and stopped drinking alcohol. I just said to this lady, I said, you know, it's in the curriculum, so I'm only teaching your daughter what I have been requested to teach her. But actually, I believe in all this. You know? Meat eating is destroying our health and destroying our planet. And drinking alcohol, the police won't be knocking on your door to say that she's in the gutter because someone's taken advantage of her because she's drunk. So, and that is funny. This girl never spoke to me, but I heard. And I used to take school assemblies, and I used to teach pastoral care, and I was in charge of pastoral care. So I used to give lessons on how to take care of yourself. I used to have good discussions with my students about this. And so I think it came out of that. But all around me, I became aware that there are souls that are suffering so much. And I think it's so important that each one of us looks after ourselves so we don't need anything from anybody, but we can save somebody's life. And their need for help may come out of nowhere at any time. So let's do meditation because it creates a powerful aura, pure energy around you. That aura goes into the air and people that come into your aura will feel good and they won't know why, but something about you that you're giving out there. So I'm going to stop now. Yes.
Thank you for the talk. I just have one question. Mostly from your experience, emotional first aid, it's not helping oneself, helping others as well. So,
sorry, in my experience, what is the question?
Emotional first aid is just not helping yourself, it's also helping others to help themselves. But one question I have is, how does an individual overcome the negative aspects they have within themselves in an environment where it's not possible for them to go and seek help immediately and feel like either need to react or just let it be? For example, you have an individual which is in a very highly stressful work environment and they can see the workload is building, the help is there, but then it comes to a situation where they think, are they going to be able to manage it? Are they not? And in that situation, the only person they can talk to them is themselves. There's no one around to come and help you and say, okay, fine, you can do this and that. How would you talk to yourself in that sense, in that 1 or 2 minutes, just to snap out of it?
Yeah, you're actually, you're talking about most of my teaching life as head of department in biology and psychology in every school I've ever worked in. The first year, you're there, and you're treated very nicely, but second year onwards, it's all downhill. More work, less pay, and a more manipulation, exploitation, and overload, overwork. Definitely, you're talking not about only my professional life, but everybody in this whole world. And I tell you how you deal with it, and I tell you how I deal with it. I think my practice of meditation suddenly the mind becomes very clear, and you see what's going on, and you explore your options. You think, okay, Lygia, this head teacher's asking me to do too much, too many duties, overloaded timetable, too many after school activities. What are your options? So you can leave, you can talk to them, you can look at the way that you do what you're asked to do so that you don't have to, exhaust yourself. So you need to look at what fits you. Sometimes what suited me is I want to leave. So then I start looking around for a job very quietly, and I go. And I try and simplify my life so that financially I'm not going to be in huge trouble when I'm changing jobs. And so I start looking around. Then I talk to the boss very quietly. I feel that I'm doing too much now. I haven't got time for my family. I'm leaving late. I'm not earning. I'm not being paid for this. And I just feel you need to know this. And they may say, tough luck. This is life as it is. So then you give him your resignation and leave. But you have got options. And if you have confidence in yourself, and if you do meditation, you'll find the answers will start coming to your mind very lightly, easily. And whether you should go, whether you should stay, whether you can confront the situation, what you should do will float into your mind. Trust me. I'll give you an example of that. I had a head teacher who he was doing a lot of wrong stuff in the school, and I refused to get involved in that. And so he used to overwork me, overload me, and whatever. And I used to resist that by being very, in staff meetings, I used to say things that were very challenging, which would annoy him. So he used to do it more. And then one day I was thinking, oh God, this is getting too much, all this kind of stuff. And I suddenly had a thought that I should just accept his bad behavior and not react to it. And I was able to be absolutely silent and send him good wishes, something he needed to do, humiliate me in front of others. I just accepted that. And it's funny because it was such a power to be in meditation, just doing something stupid, silly, hurting me in some silly way. And I think meditation makes you so strong, so clear, so peaceful that you stop flying off the handle. You start looking at what's going on and thinking, right, now I've got to put my action. Remember, you are more than special, talented, creative. You are of more value to the world when you are fulfilling your full potential, and it's not. So you think, oh, it's just a job. So you will find power when you start to build that connection with yourself. Good luck. Yes.
Hello, thank you for the talk so far. My question is, if if one finds themselves in a state of emotional distress, how do you find the right person to talk to without feeling like you're becoming a burden on them?
Could you say that a bit louder, please? Because I didn't quite catch it.
Sorry. If one finds oneself in a state of emotional distress, how do you find the right person to talk to without feeling like you're becoming a burden?
So you identify the person you feel that you could talk to, and you could ask them. You could say to them, there's something I'd like to tell you privately, if you don't mind. But, you know, as you go along, you know who you can talk to privately and tell them stuff, you know. And if you feel that way about that person, then you'll know that they will listen, they will not judge you, they will say something that will help you, and then it's private and you feel better for unloading. So the important thing is to just look at your life and identify that person. I've had some big crises in my life, and I've realized that my dad was such a person. And when he passed away, I found a member of the organization who kind of was that person, two or three of them, you know, who could advise me, be there, be encouraging, listen and not repeat it. They are treasures to me, because I'm walking around, and in the university, anybody looking at me would think that life has always been very perfect, peaceful and calm. They know nothing about me. But I could tell you, if I told you some of the things that have happened to me in my life, you'd be in tears for me. I feel that's the way to be, that I have shared my pain with someone who listened and they helped me. I don't need to spread it all around the world. It makes me strong, independent and balanced. So just have a look at all the people in your life and find that person, all those people. This is what real friendship is about, isn't it? And yeah, good luck. I hope that answers your question. So I think it's time to, yes, do you have a question?
What do you do alongside meditation that helps you?
What do I do apart from meditation that helps me with my, you know, something that's really, really important is a healthy diet. So ever since I've stopped eating any kind of meat, I've even become a vegan now, I found the clarity of my mind, my peace of mind, my emotional state is so much better. And the other thing that I do is I exercise every day. And I go swimming practically every day, because the pool literally is 5 minutes away. And sometimes I've got so much to do, I don't feel like going swimming. And the work I have to do is more interesting than going swimming. But I think, Lygia, you look after yourself, then you can look after others. So go swimming and eat well. Because if you eat well, you look after yourself, you can look after others. With a lot of love and power and independence. And the other thing to do is to listen to good stuff. Don't get involved in lying, cheating, stealing, gossiping, bad behavior. Delete all your social media accounts. Get rid of them. Don't get into social media. It's such a poisonous platform. And do meditation. Lead a calm, simple, peaceful life. Your work, your family, your loved ones. Create a routine for yourself that empowers your life. So I hope that helps. Om Shanti. So I hand over to our hostess. So I'll be here. We need to come to a close now. Please. Yeah. So announcements, and then I'll do some meditation. Shall I do the meditation first? Yeah. Just for a couple of minutes. So we're going to, everybody here has done meditation with us before. You haven't? Very warm welcome to you. It will change your life. Do the course, learn how to connect, change your life. So I'm going to play some music. I want you to close your eyes and let go now, first of the world outside. Relax your body. As you see yourself as light, see all those thoughts dying down, floating around. I bring to the focus that I am light, I am soul. Look at the quality of my thoughts. See now, I am a very good person. Now to use my thoughts to create a healthy life, to speak words that uplift myself and that uplift others. I see now that I must become stronger. Power of meditation, I am balanced, healthy. From above, I feel a shower of golden light sitting in the rays of the Supreme Soul. Feel that power, that love and peace coming towards me. Absorb it. Belong to this one. Feel that it loves me, protects me, just for a few seconds. Concentrate on Om Shanti. Thank you very much. No need to clap. It's just lovely to see you all this evening, and thank you for taking time out to come and join us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah. I was touched at the beginning when you said I will always find connection. Yeah, so much for coming. Thank you for joining us. Okay, someone says someone here for the first time. You're here for the first time. More information at the reception. Okay. Next week's talk is life after death. Yeah. With John McConnell. Time, place, and the shop will be open. The recommended books are Playing the Three Dragons with Anthony Strano. Well, they read. So thank you.
Pleasure. Good night. Good night, everyone.